Overnight, former President George H.W. Bush hospitalized. The reason has not been released. He's doing fine, and he is expected to go home in just a few days.
It is big news, and this was not expected. President Obama has commuted a vast majority of former soldier Chelsea Manning's 35-year prison sentence.
And this is coming on the heels of all of this caterwauling about leaks and about hacking. This was punishable by death.
41-year-old Markeith Lloyd, the suspected Orlando cop killer, is in custody, ending a week-long manhunt.
This maniac is off the streets of our community.
The number of Democrats now boycotting the inauguration is up to at least 58.
If we want to unify this country and get people moving forward, I think boycotting elections is just the wrong decision.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you walk into the White House?
Well, I want to go to work. Monday is really the day that we start signing and working and making great deals for the country.
Everywhere around the world, they're coming to America. Every time that flag's unfurled.
Sing it, Neil. Hello.
Right. Yeah, Neil Diamond singing "They're Coming to America" as many people come to the capital of the country to watch something that is very rare. It's only happened 58 other times. Inauguration Day in America. 2 days from now, it's going to be happening, and we are heading to Washington, which is the biggest news, right after the show.
That's right. We're heading down after the show. We've got some things to do tonight, and we're going to be with you tomorrow morning through Saturday morning down there. We'll be at the inauguration.
I reserved the train.
A whole train?
I got all of Amtrak.
I reserved your plane. Thank you for letting me borrow it.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm taking
just
the
make
shuttle.
sure you gas it up before you go.
That won't be expensive.
But where were you yesterday?
Yesterday, I went over to Trump Tower. We had to sit down with Donald Trump, a one-on-one exclusive with him. Yeah, it was great. He told me a lot of information, and we asked him right out of the gate about Congressman Lewis. Congressman Lewis says that he was boycotting or is going to boycott the inauguration. Many other congressmen and women are actually going to join him on this. And when Donald Trump walked in the door, he said, "How about this?" He ended up lying. He said that he has never done this before. It turns out he has. Listen to this. Congressman Lewis is saying he didn't remember that he skipped that inauguration.
He conveniently doesn't remember. How do you forget if you go to an inauguration? I can tell you when I was at the inaugurations, and you don't forget something like that. So he got caught, and it's pretty bad, and it's making him look bad, frankly. It's a very important time. This is a transition, and a very important transition, and especially because things will be done beautifully, but they'll be done differently than they have been over the past 8 years. And I can say over the past 16 years. I mean, they'll be different. And, we have to have a smooth transition. And President Obama understands that very well, and that's why he's been so gracious. But he understands that. And I think for him to have grandstanded, because I think he just grandstanded John Lewis, and then he got caught in a very bad lie. So let's see what happens. As far as other people not going, that's okay, because we need seats so badly. I hope they give me their tickets. Are they going to give us their tickets, or are they going to give them to other people? No, what happens to their tickets?
Would you be willing to sit down with Congressman Lewis?
Sure, I would be, but, it's just, we're off to a bad start. There's no question about it. What he did was a very, very bad thing. Not for me. For me, it doesn't matter. He did a bad thing for the country. Very, very divisive. We have a divided country. And it's not divided because of me. It's been divided. But we have a very divided country. And what he did was very, very divisive.
Speaking of divisive, so far 60 Democrats have said, you know what, we're not going to show up.
And by the way, a lot of them, Ainsley, are saying, and Steve, it's not even because of Lewis. They just don't like Donald Trump. It's up to 60. And among the outlets that says this is wrong to sit out the American process and it's anti-American to do so is the biggest critic of Donald Trump outside maybe the New York Times, New York Daily News, in their editorial today. So you might not like him, you may disagree with him, but you have to show up.
Agreed. So so now from here on out, every time there's a Republican president, the Democrats shouldn't show up, and when there's a Democrat, the Republicans. How did we get to this point?
This is extraordinary.
Hillary Clinton's going to be there. I thought that was extremely classy of her.
And every senator senator. Every U.S. senator will be there, from the most liberal to the most moderate. Every Democrat will be there. What is going on in the House? It is just an excuse not to show up and raise some more money. Democrats should realize raising money doesn't win you elections.
Well,
didn't you learn anything from the last round?
With Lewis, he said he didn't think that Trump was a legitimate president, but then you've got a number of people who say, we don't like the way Russia helped Trump, you know, through WikiLeaks. They didn't like that. Wait till the next story we do about Bradley Manning.
Well, he said he was willing to sit down with Congressman Lewis.
Right.
And then Steve Harvey's getting all this backlash. I watched an interview with him, and he said, I'm really hurt by all the people who've come out against me for sitting down with the president. He said, do we want to fix the problems? Then we got to talk about it. We got to work together.
And apparently there are a bunch of performers they have not announced for the inaugural celebrations on Friday night because they didn't want the blowback ahead of time. So a bunch of stars are going to be there Friday night.
Maybe the whole circus, because they're going out of business. They'll have nothing else to do.
We got to get our tickets. The last show's here in New York.
Meanwhile, that was topic number one for you. What was another topic that you brought up?
We talked about so many things. I was just rattling off so many questions because you don't have much time with them. But we did talk about Obamacare. We talked about the wall. A lot of people want to know how we're going to pay for it. Is there going to be a wall? Listen to what he said.
When I said we're going to get reimbursed for the wall, they said, oh, Trump's not keeping his promise. I said, wait a minute. We're going to build a wall. Mexico's going to reimburse us. And headlines, Trump's not keeping. What's this all about? Now, I could wait, but in order to get the wall started, which we're going to do sooner than we can do the deal, we have to do it this way. So we're going to have a wall. Mexico, in some form, Mexico is going to reimburse us for that wall, and everybody's going to be happy. And we're going to stop the drugs from coming in, and we're going to stop people from coming in who are doing, in some cases, some tremendous harm. But I have to say this, we're going to have a tremendous, beautiful, big door in that wall.
He said he's not going to separate families. So many people are worried about that. He's going to let the good folks stay. It's the criminals.
But there will be a wall.
There will be a wall.
But what you just said is interesting, because one of the big debates on when it comes to legal immigration for the people here is there a pathway to citizenship? And for the most part, he's couched it and said, let's worry about the criminals first and secure the border second, and then we'll worry about the people here alone. If he tells you the people here are going to be able to stay with their families, there's a pathway to citizenship.
He said, I'm going to have a heart. I will have a heart when it comes to making these decisions. But we've got so much more of that interview, more of it coming up in 25 minutes. We're going to play it throughout the morning. We talk about some fun things, too, like what the speech is going to be like, the first night in the White House, that kind of thing.
Speaking of heart, is that the reason President Obama gave clemency to, when he was the leaker, he was Bradley Manning. Now she is known as Chelsea Manning, the transgender ex-Army intel analyst, sentenced to 35 years in Leavenworth. And
he's getting out in May.
It looks like it after 7 years. And a lot of people are saying it is completely inappropriate. That man, woman is a traitor.
Well, Mike Baker was on Fox and Friends First earlier this morning saying this guy or she, I should say now, is responsible for the death of individuals by leaking information about our military. Other countries get that information, and people have died as a result.
Our reputation as an army, because of this clown released information, top secret information, because he was depressed while serving, of our downloads of Iraq and Afghanistan war logs, and got half-baked video out there that made it look as though our guys were out there indiscriminately killing Iraqis and Afghanis, and really got people in a lot of jeopardy. And when our informants in Afghanistan in particular had their identities outed, there was a mass killing spree by the Taliban inside Afghanistan. This was an outrage. It began in 2010. It was exposed. It was headed over to WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks became a national, international scourge and name, and really gave birth to them. After that, Edward Snowden uses them as a dump, and after that, we all know what happened with WikiLeaks. But yet, it didn't seem to matter to Barack Obama yesterday, and it raised bipartisan outrage. Listen.
I think it's dead wrong. Absolutely dead wrong. This is treason, espionage at the highest level. What the Private Manning done, what Chelsea did, is absolutely found guilty, 35-year sentence. Should full out that sentence, should basically serve that sentence out.
Chelsea Manning pleaded guilty to very serious crimes, leaking highly classified information that put at risk the lives of our troops and our diplomats, our intelligence officers, allies who have helped us around the world. It caused serious national security harm, and what President Obama has done today is going to cause harm as well.
I'm really surprised that the president took this action, and I have concerns about what message we send about ultimately revealing sensitive national security documents.
And in case you think this is political byplay, the U.S. government confirmed that this material that was leaked out by Bradley/Chelsea Manning was found in bin Laden's lair when they were there. He requested
you know what's
to
interesting
see
about
it.
this? What's interesting is the Democrats, he's giving clemency as a Democrat to Bradley Manning or Chelsea Manning, yet the Democrats are the ones complaining about WikiLeaks turning this election in Donald Trump's favor.
And the need for intelligence to not be shared.
I wrote this down. A prominent blogger wrote this. Giving classified information to WikiLeaks is good as long as it only endangers national security and not Democrat careers.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic.
Right.
So we know he's replenishing the enemy by releasing these terrorists from Gitmo, and he's telling everyone in the intelligence community the stuff that you have doesn't really matter that much. So a good combination on your exit interview. It's like a high school senior that never has to worry about high school again, but we're stuck in high school. We have to deal with what you're dealing with.
Well, if you're Julian Assange and you're coming back to the U.S., which he promises to do, then this could be a good thing for him.
Yeah.
Look for some more pardons and commutations tomorrow. Probably Bo Bergdahl.
And some Gitmo detainees out.
Hey, Abby.
Good morning, you guys. Ainsley, great job on that interview with President-elect. Look forward to the rest of this morning. Good to see you guys this morning. We want to get right to that Fox News alert. Breaking overnight, former President George H.W. Bush hospitalized in Texas. The 92-year-old is being treated in Houston Methodist Hospital after experiencing shortness of breath. Bush's office saying it was a precautionary move and he is resting comfortably. Bush 41 has dealt with several health issues in recent years. We'll, of course, bring you any updates on his condition as we get them. Also this morning, a suspected cop killer is in custody after a 9-day manhunt. Orlando police capturing Markeith Lloyd, locking him up with the handcuffs that belonged to the sergeant that allegedly murdered Lloyd. Lloyd was on the run for weeks, suspected of killing his pregnant girlfriend. He shot and killed Master Sergeant Deborah Clayton. You can see her right there. Earlier this month, when she recognized him at a Walmart, police found Lloyd hiding inside an empty home, armed and wearing body armor. He now faces murder charges. And an election protester setting himself on fire in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue just days before the inauguration. Firefighters racing to the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. to extinguish those flames. The man says he did it to protest the president-elect. Smoke billowing above the hotel, as you can see, which sits between the U.S. Capitol and the White House. Police say the protester was seriously burned, but he is expected to be okay. And those are some of your headlines. I'll be back with you guys shortly.
God, I can't believe anyone would do that.
It's terrible.
Ugh, thank you, Abby. Well, you're wondering where Steve is. We sent Barry White over to the kitchen to make some lemon tea.
Right.
You were all writing us about it.
Right.
Yes, he's got a cold.
And he's going up to use the touchscreen. But let me tell you what's coming up straight ahead. Donald Trump didn't just win the election. He completely redrew the political map. David Byler of the RealClearPolitics.com joins us to explain why.
And Garth Brooks made headlines when he turned down the invitation to perform at President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. But now we know why. Garth is giving the real story straight ahead.
If you buy it.
Well, he defied the polls, the pundits, and the predictions. Donald Trump not only won, he redrew the political map. But how did the president-elect do it? And what does it mean for the country going forward? Here to break us down is the elections analyst with Real Clear Politics, David Byler. Good morning to you, David.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
You know, before the election, everybody was breaking it down state by state. But as we look at how Donald Trump won, you look at it county by county.
Yeah, so this map, a lot of red, a lot of blue, tells the basic story of the election. Essentially, you have Hillary Clinton and the Democrats winning in a lot of urban centers in places like New York or Boston.
Hillary is blue.
Yes, Hillary is blue.
He
Sorry
is
about
red.
that. Yes, yes.
All right.
You have her winning in urban centers, and you have her winning in some of the racially diverse areas, like the Southwest has a lot of Latino voters who favor Democrats.
Well,
There are black voters in the South.
Let's go ahead and go into the South.
Yeah.
Take a look at that.
Yeah, so the South is where some of the most important trends are. What you've seen in the South over the last 2 decades is white voters shifting from Democrats towards Republicans. You see that in coal country here, sort of southern West Virginia, eastern Kentucky. You see that in this part of Oklahoma. And essentially some of the things that we've been seeing is a long-term trend where rural and small-town white voters have moved sharply to the right over the last 20 years. Okay. That's been really important for Donald Trump. That continued, that trend, out in the West. But the flip side of that trend is that Democrats do really well in cities. So some of these states, like you'll see...
in Denver.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh.
I just helped you.
Yeah, exactly. Around Denver, and this whole C shape in Colorado is one good example. Las Vegas, Nevada is another good example where Democrats have been able to win in big cities. That's helped them out in the West. But Republican strength in these rural areas has really helped them a lot when it comes to the Northeast and the Midwest. Those are really the key areas for Donald Trump to win.
One more.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay,
My fault.
there you go.
In the Northeast, what you'll see in Pennsylvania here is Hillary Clinton wins in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
She wins in Philadelphia. But this big sort of rural red part in the middle goes for Trump. That gives him the margin he needs to win the state that ultimately got him over the top to 270 electoral votes.
I think we have one more map, right?
Right, and this is actually the most important map.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry about
Close
that. This is the most important map, which is the Midwest. And you see essentially these rural areas in Wisconsin, all around Minneapolis and Minnesota, all through Iowa, in Ohio, in the Appalachian area, over in the Southwest region. All of these areas have a lot of working class white voters who previously might have liked the Democratic candidates like Bill Clinton, but have since moved right, and that's been a big part of why Trump was able to win.
Indeed. And you know, the interesting thing about it, when you look at the whole country, it's pretty clear that the way Donald Trump won was he won more counties by a lot.
Yeah, he won a lot of areas that just were outside of sort of these urbanized cores and very diverse stretches in the South and Southwest.
The blue is her and the red is him. All right. David, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Interesting stuff. All right, straight ahead on this Wednesday, President Obama commutes the sentence of Chelsea Manning after Chelsea leaked Army documents and betrayed fellow soldiers. So what do soldiers make of the move? Army vet, our own Pete Hegseth, is here next. Hello, Pete. And it's a women's rights march, but a women's group is banned from participating. The reason? We'll have you seeing red.
All right, quick headlines now. The mastermind behind 9/11 attacks, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, writing a letter to President Obama, reportedly complaining about Muslim oppression by the U.S. The letter delivered to the White House after being held at Gitmo for 2 years. Mohammed, KSM, is awaiting the death penalty, and we all can't wait for that day. And the Million Women's March to unite women against President-elect Donald Trump isn't as inclusive as you might think. The pro-life group, New Wave Feminists, booted as an event partner. Pro-choice protesters saying their type of feminism violates the march's unity values, close quote. Next hour, we're going to talk to a New Wave member to get her response. 24 minutes now after the hour.
They wouldn't allow them to join in because they're not, by definition, feminists?
Right. There were so many quotes in that lead. I felt that I should have been doing this.
We should have had you on camera. Well, the White House is announcing that President Obama has commuted Chelsea Manning's 35-year prison sentence for leaking classified documents. Now the former Army intelligence analyst is set to be released in May, on May 17th.
Here to weigh in is Fox News contributor, Army veteran Pete Hegseth, who fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. This intelligence dump directly affected the men and women you fought with.
As you pointed out, it is a document dump that Osama bin Laden himself sought because of how document-rich it was. Dossiers on the entire Afghan war, the Iraq war, our strategy, our collaboration with allies. He read through it because he wanted to understand what we were doing and how to counter it. What more can you say about treason and giving directly to the enemy something they can use against us and harms men and women on the battlefield? I mean, this guy's a traitor. He was sentenced to 35 years. He should serve every single minute of it. But it's actually perfectly telling of Barack Obama.
He pled down for 35 years.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly telling of Barack Obama. So he checks a lot of social boxes, transgender now, not Bradley anymore, now Chelsea, a cause celeb of the left, and who said he did it because he was troubled when he was in Iraq. And it's just the lawlessness.
So you're saying that's why President Obama is giving him a pass?
It's like a nice, cozy cause for him. Hey, let's help out Chelsea and WikiLeaks. It's all fine. Release whatever you want. America, you know.
Mike Baker this morning was on Fox, and he's an ex-CIA agent, and he said that this guy, or this girl, I should say, is responsible for the death of Americans by releasing information about our military to other countries.
Of course. I mean, I wouldn't release one document, let alone 700,000, and you did it because you wanted to expose supposed war crimes. As you said, some fuzzy videos, some difficult situations where our guys make decisions on a split second. He's indicting them in the court of public opinion, making the wars more difficult to prosecute.
By the way, it raised the profile of WikiLeaks. We didn't even know what it was. It caused irreparable damage to Hillary Clinton's State Department. She had to go around apologizing for all the stuff that was said behind closed doors that we didn't even want our allies to know. Here's what Catherine Harridge reported. After two intelligence sources confirmed to her that after the Afghan war diaries released these incident reports in 2010, the Taliban went on a killing spree, taking out everyone who seemed to fit the description of individuals who were working with the U.S., making it, by the way,
anyone with brown hair. Anyone with brown hair.
Why would you want to work with us? I mean, when we're going to expose you eventually, you're dead. I saw it in Iraq. When a guy was that we were working with was exposed, he was dead. This is not play games here. These are people's lives.
What was her motive? Why did she release all this information?
Well,
she was depressed.
When he was depressed at the time about gender dysphoria, didn't know who he was, didn't want to be in Iraq, so decides I'm just going to release 700,000 documents. There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for caveat in the military code. No, I mean apparently not. They wanted to make a statement about transparency while killing fellow soldiers and allies in the process.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your service, too. Coming up, more of the exclusive interview with President-elect Donald Trump.
I ask you about your speech, the inauguration speech. Have you prepared your speech? Have you practiced? What's the first line?
The answer to that question in my exclusive one-on-one interview with Donald Trump.
Plus, our next guest is taking TV and the internet by storm.
68 in Raleigh. And where I live, Liberty, it's going to be 63.
Local weather kid Charlie Warren is here, tracking the forecast with Janice Dean. Her job is threatened, but she smiles through it.
Oh, but first, we're going to say happy birthday to Jason Segel. He is the actor that turns 37 years old today.
Right. Happy birthday. I know you're watching. Well, the inauguration just 2 days away, and we've got an exclusive interview with our next commander-in-chief. Well, she did. Well, Ainsley visited the 25th floor of the Trump Tower to talk about the big day. Is that true, Ainsley?
That is absolutely true. You want to listen?
If you have time.
All right, here we go. Oh, Donald Trump is about to become the 45th president of the United States. There was more on the prompter. So what's the first thing on his to-do list? We asked him that question, and we asked him a lot more in the exclusive sit-down. Listen.
President-elect Trump, thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thank you.
Exciting week for you. What's the first thing you're going to do when you walk into the White House?
Well, I want to go to work. Monday is really the day that we start signing and working and making great deals for the country.
I know Melania and your son are going to stay here in New York until he finishes school at least. Will they be there with you Friday night, your first night in the White House? Will your whole family be there?
My whole family is going to be in the White House. Barron and Melania and all of my children will be in the White House, which is sort of a tradition. They say the first night you have your family there, but Ivanka, Don, Eric, Tiffany, they're all going to be in the White House, and it'll be very exciting. There's something very special about that building. Every time you walk in it, it's just something so incredible about the White House.
Not many people get the opportunity to say they are the President of the United States of America.
It's very humbling, I will tell you.
I'm sure. Do you think about your parents?
I do. My parents were great. I had great parents and loving parents, and my father was a strong guy. Actually, my mother was at least equally as strong, but a lot of people didn't quite understand that. But she was strong, but good, both good, great hearts and great parents.
I want to ask you about your speech, the inauguration speech. Have you prepared your speech? Have you practiced? What's the first line?
Well, I have prepared it. Well, the first line is thanking everybody, all of the presidents, and including, by the way, President Obama and Michelle, who have been absolutely nice. Melania has spent time with Michelle, and it was great. And Ivanka the other day spoke to her. The conversation was going to be a quick conversation. It lasted an hour. And they got along great, and so I'm just thanking President Obama. I'm thanking his very lovely wife, because they have been so gracious. We're going to have a tremendous turnout. I think it's going to be, from what I'm hearing, the numbers are going to be astronomical.
There are some congressmen and women who have decided not to show up and not be there. What was your reaction when Congressman Lewis started this?
Well, what he said is that he's never done it before, but he has. And, you know, he has done it before because he did it with President Bush 43. And he did it on the same basis. He said, oh, he is not our president or something thereabouts. And that's a very bad misrepresentation. So let's see what happens. As far as other people not going, that's okay because we need seats so badly. I hope they give me their tickets. Are they going to give us their tickets or are they going to give them to other people? No, what happens to their tickets? I hope they're going to give us their tickets.
What about these celebrities who are now pulling out?
Many of the celebrities that are saying they're not going, they were never invited.
Well,
I don't want the celebrities, I want the people. And we have the biggest celebrities in the world there. The biggest in the world.
You.
Well, I won't say that. But we have the biggest, and President Obama.
How about these designers that are saying they don't want to dress your wife? She's not, did she even ask Tom Ford?
Never asked Tom Ford. Doesn't like Tom Ford. Doesn't like his designs. Tom Ford is an example. I will not dress the First Lady. He was never asked to dress. And Steve Wynn just called me, and he said he thought it was so terrible what Tom Ford said that he threw his clothing out of his Las Vegas hotel. I'm not a fan of Tom Ford, never have been.
I heard smaller parade, fewer balls. Why is that?
Well, they had many balls. They had like 10, 12 balls, and we had that scheduled. And, you know, we have one ball, I think it's 25,000 people, and they're going to be bigger. But who wants to have like 10 different balls? So we did fewer. Everything's sold out. You can't get a ticket. But, in fact, my biggest problem is you can't get tickets to any of this stuff. It's impossible. I was told some of the dress shops in Washington, you can't get a dress anymore. It's like it's just going to be an amazing weekend. It's going to be something special, and you will have crowds like they have rarely seen before.
What about Twitter? Are you going to continue to tweet?
Yeah. Look, I don't like tweeting. I have other things I could be doing, but I get very dishonest media, very dishonest press. And it's my only way that I can counteract.
CIA John Brennan, he responded to your Twitter. You said, you questioned whether or not he might be the leaker. He's saying, no, he's not the leaker. What's your response?
Well, I accept his, look, I accept it, but it came out of someplace, and it's fake news. It's all fake news. You know, I can say something about George Washington. I can say something about Abraham Lincoln. I can say something about you. I can, just fake news. And they shouldn't have been a part of it. They should not have been a part of it, because it's made up, never existed, never happened. And the reason I say that so strongly, because nothing's ever going to show up. There's never going to be a tape that shows up. There's never going to be anything that shows up. Now, I would be very embarrassed if a tape actually showed up saying something like that. It would be double embarrassed, because I'm saying there is no tape. There is no event. I was never even in that room for that period of time. They made stuff up. And it started with the Republican Party when they tried to beat me in the nomination. And then it went on, the Democrats took over that work, supposedly. And by the intelligence giving it credence, a little bit of credence, by just even talking about it, it was very inappropriate. So I don't know who the leaker was. I have no idea, but it's fake news.
Press briefing room, are you going to move it?
So we were going to move it because, well, for whatever reason, you'll have to explain this to me and everybody, but we get a lot of people showing up for press conferences, etc., including briefings. And the room is too small. So we said we're going to move it to a larger room in a nearby area, but, you know, not the same area. And the press went crazy. So I said, let's not move it. But some people in the press will not be able to get in because there's just too many. We'll make sure you get a seat. But there's too many people for this small room.
Especially nowadays with bloggers and with radio.
Well, we have so many people that want to go in, and you know, so we'll have to just pick the people that go into the room. I'm sure other people will be thrilled about that, but we offered a much larger room because we need a much larger room, and we offered to do that, but they went crazy, and they'll be begging for a much larger room very soon. You watch.
Did you see the impersonators that were standing in for you? They're in the military, the man and the woman. They were you and Melania.
Oh.
We interviewed them this morning, and we said, is there any advice you have for Mr. Trump? And he said, tell him to watch his step. Apparently he tripped going up the stairs.
We don't want that to happen.
Yeah, he wouldn't be the first person to tell Donald Trump to watch his step. Now, we did learn that apparently Ralph Lauren is actually going to be dressing Melania.
Who wouldn't want that task? I mean, she's a beautiful lady, and to have the opportunity to address the First Lady, I think that would be such an honor, even if you don't agree with the politics.
And by the way, as you know, one of the nicest people you're ever going to talk to Very nice. A mom first. She just happens to be an international supermodel. I will say this. One thing about Donald Trump.